For decades, there's been one name that's pretty much the epicenter of all conspiracy theories, a code word for government secrets and, yeah, of course, aliens. Area 51. But what's the real story behind the legend? To really get why this place is such a big deal, you have to wrap your head around the sheer level of denial. For almost 60 years, the US government insisted that this massive base, deep out in the Nevada desert, was a complete fantasy. It literally was not on any public map. And when you hide something that fiercely, it just makes people ask the question, right? What were they hiding? And what is still going on out there that needs such extreme secrecy? To really understand the myth, you have to get a sense of the place itself. Area 51 isn't just a no-go zone. It's one of the most heavily guarded, most intensely monitored places on the entire planet. And I mean, just look at the scale of the security. We are not just talking about a tall fence here. The airspace above it, they call it the box, covers a whopping 440 square miles. The ground is packed with motion detectors, and yep, those armed guards, people call them the camo dudes, they are fully authorized to use deadly force. This is not a place you just accidentally wander into. All this intense secrecy just created this massive cultural phenomenon, and it all kind of boiled over in 2019 with that Storm Area 51 thing on Facebook. What started out as a total joke, it spiraled into a legitimate national security issue to the point where the Air Force had to come out and issue public warnings. Millions of people were just captivated by what could be behind those gates. But the modern myth, the one with the alien spaceships, that can really be traced back to the wild claims of one single person. His story is what took Area 51 from just a classified military base to the world headquarters for everything extraterrestrial. His name is Bob Lazar. And back in 1989, he gave this now legendary interview to a TV station in Las Vegas. He claimed to be a physicist who'd been hired to work at a site that was even more secret than Area 51 itself, a place called S4, just a few miles away. And here's the thing, Lazar wasn't just saying he worked at some secret base. He was claiming he worked on technology that was not from this planet. His exact words were, "Human hands did not put this together." So here's the rundown of what he said he was doing. He claimed the US had 9 captured alien flying saucers. And his job? It was to try and figure out how their propulsion systems worked, to reverse engineer them. And he said they ran on this stable, super heavy element that we hadn't even created on Earth yet, element 115. And this is why people still argue about Bob Lazar to this day. I mean, on the one hand, investigators did find his name in an old phone book for the Los Alamos National Laboratory, and he passed a polygraph test. But on the other hand, major universities like MIT and Caltech have absolutely no record of him ever being there. The defense contractor he named, they deny he ever worked for them. His supporters say the government just wiped his records clean. His critics say he just made the whole thing up. So you've got Lazar's unbelievable story on one side, but what does the actual declassified history tell us? If it wasn't alien saucers, what was so important that it had to be hidden from the entire world? Okay, so let's dig into the declassified files. It turns out the real origin of Area 51 had nothing to do with aliens, but it had everything to do with the Cold War. All right, picture this. It's 1955. The CIA needs a super remote, totally secret place to build and test a revolutionary new aircraft, the U-2 spy plane. They found this dry lake bed called Groom Lake. It was perfect, completely isolated, and already part of a restricted military area. They called their new home Watertown Airstrip. Now, the U-2 wasn't just another plane. This thing was a technological miracle. It was basically a jet-powered glider that could fly at over 70,000 feet, an altitude that most people thought was just impossible to reach back then. And to put that into perspective, in the 50s, a commercial jetliner flew at around 20,000 feet. The best military fighters, maybe 40,000 feet. The U-2 was flying in a part of the sky that was basically empty. So, when airline pilots started seeing these bright, shiny objects way, way above them, they were reporting UFOs. The CIA later admitted that more than half of all UFO reports from that time were actually people spotting the U-2. But the U-2 was really just the beginning. Area 51 quickly became the go-to spot, the main development hub for America's most secret and, frankly, most bizarre-looking aircraft. So the secrets at Area 51 were absolutely 100% real. But they were man-made.
The whole point of the secrecy wasn't to hide aliens from the public. It was to hide game-changing American technology from the Soviet Union.
And you have to see the kinds of designs they were testing. You had the A-12, this titanium spy plane that flew faster than 3 times the speed of sound. You had the F-117 Nighthawk, the very first stealth fighter jet, built with all of these weird, flat angles to make it invisible to radar. And then you had prototypes like Tassitlu, a stealth plane so strange-looking they called it the flying bathtub. Seriously, if you saw any of these things flying around, alien would seem like a pretty logical guess. So these incredibly advanced, top-secret projects, these were the real UFOs. The government's need for secrecy created this massive information vacuum, and the alien story, boosted by guys like Bob Lazar, just rushed in and filled that gap perfectly. So the history is declassified, the story is out, so the mystery is solved, right? Well, not exactly. The secrecy, and our fascination with it, is still going strong today. Get this, it wasn't until 2013, because of a Freedom of Information Act request, that the CIA finally, officially, acknowledged that Area 51 even existed by name. For 58 years, on paper, it was a ghost. And even today, that cloak of secrecy is very much alive. There's a whole fleet of unmarked passenger jets, people call them Janet Airlines, that flies workers in and out every day from a private terminal in Las Vegas. And for the civilians who hike up to Tikaboo Peak, which is the closest you can legally get, well, they're being watched themselves by a government camera hidden inside a fake weather station. And that really brings us to the final biggest question. Think about it. The U-2, the A-12, the F-117 stealth fighter, these were all mind-blowing technologies that were kept secret for decades. So if that's the kind of tech they're finally declassifying, what does that say about the projects they're hiding out in the desert right now? What are we going to be finding out about in another 50 years?